This is basically our corporate website where we send people, there's downloadable PDFs and video blogging and all kinds of stuff where people can learn more about Big State. But you want to keep the marketing message really simple to get them in, and then you want to educate them and show them that you're somebody that you really know what you're doing, or that you really have a solution to their problem. I mean, I could all day long tell you about the kind of problems that people have. Everybody here probably has their own problems. Throw a house in it and everything else. So the process for a wholesaler. So you have the marketing to motivated sellers. Okay, so we do the marketing to motivated sellers, and so now you get the leads and you need to know what to do with them. And it's a numbers game, so the more leads you get, the better. Because like I said, the majority of people are not going to sell their house as cheap as you have to buy it, or as cheap as your client has to buy it. And then this is where, the advantage of actually doing some real estate deals or really getting familiar with people that flip houses is you have to put yourself in their shoes. So because Big State does not buy most of those houses, we do buy some, my mentality is always on the buyer's side. So what will somebody pay for this? What makes sense for them to pay for it? How much will they have all in after they pay us, buy the house, hold it, renovate it? Best exit strategies for the neighborhood. Is it a rental? Is it a flip? Owner finance? And then really, gear towards the segment of our buyers that are looking for that kind of deal. And so it's really important to be able to think like the person who's going to own it, because these numbers are extremely important. The after value, everybody wants it to be as high as possible, from the wholesaler to the seller to the end buyer. But establishing what the house is really worth after it's repaired is critical. We make our best effort to give the most accurate number of what a house is worth after it's fixed. Of course, we want it to be as high as possible, just like everybody else. But we really try to educate ourselves going in to the multiple listing service. I don't recommend using Zillow or HCAD. Those are not really very accurate ways to assess what a house is worth. And really diving in and studying houses that are apples to apples. So we're looking at houses that are similar in year built, similar in square footage, same subdivision if possible, sales in the past 3 months to a year. I will go back a year to pull trends to see how the trend is moving. We're looking at solds, but I'll also look at what is actively selling in the neighborhood, because if you have a bunch of solds at 200 and nothing listed more than 140, and the ones at 140 are nice, then something's happening in the market over there. So I'm getting the whole picture, and then getting into the listings and looking to see what it sold for, and then how much contribution the people gave back to closing costs. So really, the days on market, really familiarizing yourself with what the house is really worth. Because that's going to tell you what you can pay the seller, but it's also going to establish your reputation amongst buyers. And there are a ton of buyers in the city. Like I said, there's a lot of competition for good real estate investments. So making the best name for yourself as possible with the people who are buying inventory is essential. Okay, in addition to establishing what the house is worth after it's repaired, we also look at the cash market today. So it's a different number, but what we're looking at is what the foreclosures are selling at and what kind of condition those are in relative to the condition of the property we're looking at. So if you're in a neighborhood where houses are selling at $50,000 in terrible condition in 2 days on market, then that there's a cash market for that kind of deal. So that'll help you. We try to price our properties below the foreclosure market when we sell them to our investors, but that gives you an idea of the value of that neighborhood to an investor and kind of the rate of foreclosure. So if you see houses in the neighborhood where your house is selling at 50 in a couple of days on the market, a few of them, a lot of demand, some of them get bid up over asking price, that's a really good indication of what you can get for your house. And so that's a kind of an easy way to look. And sometimes those numbers are different. Sometimes, you take the after, I'm assuming everybody knows this, but you take the after repaired value and you take off anywhere from 65 to 75 cents on the dollar is what you're multiplying by, less repairs, less your fee, and that's what you're buying the house for. So sometimes this number and this number before the repair, before your fee, is what an end buyer will pay for your house. So I'm assuming everybody knows that, but I'll just stick it up there anyway. So that number is about what we can get for it, and anything less than we can negotiate is our fee. And so if this number comes out to like 38 to 42, but there's like a ton of activity at 50 on that in that area, then that's really where your market is. That gives you a kind of a ceiling of what you can pay for it. Of course, the objective is always to get the best deal for the end buyer so they come back, and get the right deal for the seller so that you can get the deal. And the market being as competitive as it is, people are paying more for property. So, I hear people say they see the percentages going down, the profit margin going down in current investment deals available in the city, but it's not because wholesalers are trying to make more money, it's because the market is very good and there's a lot of competition for the deals. So you're gonna establish the market values, inspect the property, you have to walk it, you have to know what's wrong with it so that you can sell it, and so you can accurately identify the repairs. We estimate the repairs pretty much. They're usually 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I mean, we're not in there with an inspector getting official inspection. Dirty houses, lots of dirty houses. They have we try to get the houses cleaned out for the buyers. So what the product that we're offering, and Ray's bought a couple of properties from us, is a property that's, well, let me get back to that, but a property that's cleaned out, that's no problems. I mean, as a wholesaler, what you're getting is a mess of problems. You're getting a filthy house, a title that's probably not clear to close, a seller that's in an emotional state of some kind. You're getting all this raw material, and you're processing all that raw material to an end product that's ready to sell to someone like Ray, who's then going to buy it, fix it, rent it, sell it, represent somebody buying it, whatever. So everybody's got their place in this market, and so wholesalers. It's a full-time job to get out there and identify the properties, pacify the sellers, get the title clear, do all this business, and provide an end product. And so that's why, sometimes people say, well, it looks like you guys are making all this money on these properties. Well, sometimes we do, but they can be a tremendous amount of work. So you're going to make the offer, negotiate it, offer your service, offer them something beside just the dollars, because they got 5 other people out there offering them dollars, and contract it, open title at the title company. Somebody asked me about title. Was that you? What was the question? How do you keep them?
How do you hold the contract long enough to get a clear title?
You mean how do you keep the seller on board long enough, or how do you, the contracts, if you use we use the TREC contract, the 9-page real estate contract, and in that contract it says that contract is valid past the closing date. It's valid until they can give you clear title. So like if you have a contract that's closing on or before January 1st, it's contingent upon providing clear title. So we get an idea up front by asking them, did you inherit the house? Oh, your mother died. Did she have a will? Oh, what year did she die in? Oh, is your father still alive? She had children. How many children? Are they still alive? Did they have children? Trying to get an idea of what the problems are up front, because we can assess what kind of paperwork we're going to need and get that up front. Do we need an heirship affidavit? Give them the questionnaire and let them start filling it out when you get the contract. Don't wait for the title report. You can ask all kinds of questions to learn what the title you think it's going to be, and start preparing for it, and then tell them, this is part of that service thing. An affidavit of heirship. Does anybody not know what an affidavit of heirship is? It's okay. I didn't before I got in this business. Okay, essentially, if you die without a will, then an affidavit of heirship establishes the lineage that property would pass through according to the Texas probate code. So if you die and you leave all your worldly goods to the church, then and the will's probated, that's where they go. But if you didn't have a will, or if it's not probated, then it would go part to your wife, part to your children. If you didn't have children, it would go to your siblings, or up and down. I mean, it's a maze, but those things cost at least $1,500 for an attorney to do, and probate attorneys, if there are any in the room, they're very slow. So, that's a huge service you can offer your seller is, the title company's attorneys will do that heirship affidavit, and they charge $300 for it. So, you provide the questionnaire, they fill it out, you showing them you know what you're doing. You're not charging them up front to do it. You're solving a problem. You could even pay for it if you had to, but you're saving them at least $1,200, and you're fixing something that they're likely to never know how to fix, because estate issues are complicated. and probably never going to pay to fix. And estate properties, just as a side note, are the best deals because you've got somebody, the property is usually either outdated or in disrepair. Someone's paying for the insurance or not paying it, and the mortgage or not paying it. I mean, somebody's responsible for all of this house just sitting there accumulating debt. So estate properties tend to just be dead weight. So they're really good, and there's a lot of ways you can solve problems. So asking the right questions up front, getting with a title company that works with assignments and investors, and that's back to that strong stomach thing, because you think you're going to close something in 7 days, but we're closing one in the next week or two, and we've had it for 9 months, 10 months. The brother smokes pot and he won't let you in the house, and his dogs are too big, and the house is in disrepair, and the woman had a guardianship on her mother, but the mother's dead and the guardianship was never terminated, and the father never had a will. And I mean, you gotta have some patience and ability to keep people. You gotta have that charm to keep people on board. But tell them up front what they're in for. Yeah, I saw you for. An option contract, we do. We put options in the contracts at times if we're approaching a number that I'm not sure we can actually live up to. And I'll tell the seller that, I can pay you $32,000 for this house. You want 40? I will put an option on it and show it to some of my clients, as long as you understand that I can guarantee the 32. I don't know that I can guarantee 40, but I'm willing to try. And we do that, because a lot of times if they're willing to sell it for 40, they're willing to sell it for 32 if they know you've given it an effort. I really don't like to get into contracts we can't close, so we tend to err on the side of being conservative, and if we have to go up on our price, we'll negotiate to get some room. And I would rather do that and possibly lose the deal than contract it for too much money, send it out to my investors. They think it's too much money. Nobody buys it. Seller's screaming. Title company did a bunch of work and you can't close. And just better to tell them up front. Yes?
Can you tell me what your average fee is?
The standard that I set for...
$1,000.
Right, $1,000. No. The standard state's minimum fee is $7,500. So sometimes we err, sometimes we go below that, sometimes usually higher. At the end of the year, it averages out to $7,500. That's about what they average out to. Yes.
That turns out having a will is affidavit of what?
Airship, affidavit of airship. A title company will know what that is. But that's just one of the many tools you can arm yourself with. I mean, the books and CDs that I'm not selling, they don't really have what you need to do this. They have the motivation and they have the idea, and that's where I got started, listening to Ron LeGrand's CDs about, you can make $1 million sitting at home 15 minutes a day, doing real estate. That's not true, but you can make $1 million doing this, but it requires a lot of work. But title companies are actually a really great resource to learn about title problems and title issues, and a great place to get forms, having airship affidavits ready to go, and all kinds of other information like that. So working with an investor-friendly title company. So if they don't know what an assignment is, don't use them. If they don't, some title companies, all they do is close beautiful houses, and that's fine. But that's not the title company you're looking for, because our sellers are emotional. Most of them are not desperate for money, but some of them are. Usually have title problems, and the title companies, they make their fees based on closing. So they make a percentage of the title policy, and they make their escrow fee, and sometimes it's a whole lot of work for not a lot of money for them. So getting with a title company, using them a lot, you like giving them your business, and then getting someone as part of your team, getting someone on your team that's going to work with you. Market the property to other investors, building a buyer's base. I have a really large buyer's base just because I've done this for so long, but getting out networking with people, rich clubs,